Okay, so here I am. I'm about to tell my life story to you. Not at all comfortable with a camera in front of me, but I thought it was the most personal way to tell my life story. I think it's I think it's interesting. It's really strange. Well, I think it's interesting because I did a lot of things in my life, but what I'm now doing is I never thought I would have done. I'm in this room which I kind of created myself, um, crazy enough, and I'm still flabbergasted by it, or with it. It's oh yeah, this is cool. I've always stars on my ceiling. So there's a whole story behind it, and I really feel to share it with you. Um, that we can change and that we can do lots of things in our lives. And I think we all have our own stories, and I think it's really interesting to share our stories with each other because we can learn from them. So I just pretend that I'm talking with a person instead of sitting in front of a camera. So here we go. Oh, tell us something about yourself. Oh, how did you end up in this room? Well, uh, I did lots of music previously. When I was young, I was really fond of music. I loved music. Music was my life. My parents loved music as well, so we went to concerts and saw the artists and big artists on stages, and it was like, wow. When a young child, a young child always in front of the stage and sitting next to the speaker. It's a miracle I can still hear. No, okay, but anyway, I was really loving music, and I started at a pretty young age doing music. There was a piano in the house and of my parents, and I was really like, yeah, this is what I feel to do. So I started specializing after my parents said, like, yeah, you can do just one, or just focus on one thing, because I loved sports. I was like outdoors all the time and did all things, but music was eventually really my focus point, and I really thought, like, I can make a living of this. I started to do classical, so I got some private lessons for some years, I think. I don't remember that well, but eventually I was just like, I want to play with other kids. I would like to play with other instruments and bands and all that stuff. I would like to play together. So I went to a local music school and did there some piano lessons with a great teacher, by the way. Yeah, it was really strict, I think, but really I learned lots of those years, especially also in combination with the music school. I learned pop, but also jazz, and there were other kids playing also music instruments, so it was really easily to get together and play in a band. So it went from pop to jazz to rock to funk to soul, playing eventually concerts and rehearsals and recordings in the studio just for fun. And yeah, it was really cool, I think. But it was also overwhelming. And I'm not only talking about this as if it was a dream life. Contrary, I think it. Uh, uh, as I remember, I have nice memories. Of course, there were lots of fun and a lot of things, but there was also, I think, one of the most heaviest time in my life. I don't have the feeling I had really a a young when I was young, a childhood which was normal. There are so many details of this, and maybe I will make or write a book about it or something, or take more time for it. So music school, but pretty overwhelming with the bands, because anyway, I was going, and it was like a snowball effect, and I played in a jazz band with some same age, and we were really young, and we played concerts here and there. Eventually I played with more bands around it, and at the same time I had the high school, so I still had to do school and did my homework, but I was playing more and more music, and I didn't have the priority anymore to do school. So at a really young age, I needed to make choices, like, okay, am I going to play with friends, or am I studying music? Am I practicing, or am I writing, or I'm working on my technique? And okay, I'm not saying that I was always dedicated to practice. I like to play music, but I like to play the music I already could play. That was most fun. I didn't like to learn always new things, but motivated and dedicated I was, and I wanted to make a living out of it. And it was really a strange time, because I was playing already with bands, and I earned already money when I was that young age. I mean, I could not live from it really, but it was coming. But at the other hand, a lot of questions of other people were there. You needed to prove that you really can keep up with. Can you make a living out of music, or just art? It has a lot of. In general, we talk about art like it's a hard living to make a living. So as a kid, there was a lot of pressure. A lot of kids didn't knew even what they wanted to do in school, so they had to choose a direction, what subject to study, and eventually what kind of money can I gain from it. Or I was already knowing that it would be maybe hard to have music as a job, or as something what could give me income so I can live in a house and stuff. And I was already telling my parents, like, if I'm gonna do this anyway, even if I have to eat white beans in tomato sauce my whole life, I don't care, I'm gonna do music. So I was really dedicated, and I was really motivated to do, and I had just that feeling of proving myself all the time. Meanwhile, I had a girlfriend, and a high school, and I had some friends going out in the night and drinking beers. It was a really tough combination, and I had to choose, or I was just in a roller coaster, and things went so fast because we did contests and we won this and that, and eventually your ego is, like, oh yeah, when you get first place or something, and you get applause or something when you're on stage and you're that young, we had no coach or something to tell us how to handle and how to deal with it, So eventually I had to choose to say, like, I don't want to do high school anymore. I had just 1 year to go, but it was too much pressure. So I said that to my parents, like, I'm gonna quit high school. And my parents like, no, don't quit high school, like, just graduate and stuff, and then you can do conservatory or something. But I couldn't handle it anymore. It was just so much difference of life, what I did as a kid compared with all my other friends. So yeah, my parents had a solution. And they found a high school across the country, so into the west to Rotterdam, and that high school was located in a conservatory. So yeah, go there and see if you can go at that school. But I had to do audition because it was really a pre-conservatory thing. So you had results from school and you had results from music. I did audition and they made an exception. You can go at this school. Wow, that is amazing. I am surrounded by kids from the same age, which has the same ambition. Meanwhile, I'm at school, but to be honest, the level was much higher than I am used to. I was just in a local music school and I learned some things, but there was much more to learn and things I've never learned before. So that was one thing. Then I had to adjust with all and adapt all the things of with friends and stuff like that, making friends. And little village, big city, world city. Had to move and live on my own. Never done that before. I was, I don't know, 17, 18 years old or something. I had a girlfriend back at the village. My friends I had to leave behind. My parents were not there. It was a 2.5, 3 hours drive. There were a lot of things I had to take account for and just know the whole public system. And when I was biking in the village, I had not to watch out or something for cars or whatever. And I mean, yeah, just some, but this was like all the cars came from everywhere, and suddenly there was a tram in front of me, and whew, a lot of things. I managed to do my washing clothes and stuff like that, and cooking, and everything went okay, but the whole circumstances of being alone was pretty hard. Lots of other details I would spare you. It's not really yeah, it's important, but it's okay. There were hard times. It's just there was so much, and I just needed to keep up with everything what was new, to live on my own, to make food, to wash my clothes, to go to school at the right time, because I was the only one. There was no parent saying like, hey, you need to go or whatever. And I needed suddenly to grow up. I suddenly need to be an adult. So that was pretty intense. And most of the kids, at that school lived at an aunt or lived close, and they could, go by train or something. So yeah, it was an overwhelming time from the moving from a small village to a big city. So I had to adapt so much that it took all my energy. I had 1 year of high school and I had to graduate, so pressure was on. I suddenly needed to fit in and work together with people I didn't know. It was pretty tough and just overwhelming. As a young kid, you had nobody around you which could support you or show you the way how to live there, and eventually I got used to it, but it was still overwhelming with the tasks I needed to do. There was even a music teacher from the conservatory where I had to go and had to play 3 jazz standards every week, and needed to play the whole song with melody and eventually guide yourself with the left hand and play a solo in the right hand and stuff. And that was just too much. I couldn't handle it anymore. I had to sing notes from sheets, classical stuff. I had no idea. I mean, what the, you know, it was crazy. I was maybe a big too big too yeah a step too far, I think. A too big step. So yeah, I worked so much, and 17 hours of the day I was just going. I had just sleep and I had to go again. And I mean, I just learned to cook for myself, but eventually I had just to cook in the night for the next day because I had to go to school, and after school I could study in a room with a piano and practice. And then when I was hungry, I could heat up my dinner, which I made the night before, and put it in the microwave and eat and go until closing time at 10 o'clock. And then I went back again, fixing all the stuff, cooking again for the next day, practicing a bit still. And in midnight I had to sleep, wake up again, go do homework when, I don't know, you know. It was just overwhelming with all stuff. So it was that heavy that I had injury in my wrists. It's like an elastic band which you have around your wrists, and it went too tight with both hands, and as you hear, I still have it. It's still the pain I feel from that moment and that time, and that's pretty hard. Not fun, you know, these stories. I had to, they sent me to a special medical hospital, which were specialized in those cases of, I don't know, sports and music and stuff like that. And many people apparently has this injury, and the only thing was surgery. So they had to cut the elastic band, put some, I don't know, skin from my ass and put it together so the band was a bit more wider, so you won't hear this and it is not painful anymore. 99% of chance it would work. Well, it didn't work because I didn't do it. I just thought, like, this is not a solution. I just did too much. I'm burned out. I cannot do it anymore. So I have to choose which direction I have to go, because high school is not working. Meanwhile, I had to do music, and it was totally new for me with lots of things. Meanwhile, I had to learn to live on my own without any support, and with all other circumstances I will spare you. Yeah. Meanwhile, my friends back there in my little old village, I had just, and my girlfriend was there, so it was really alone, pretty lonely time, pretty depressing. Of course, I had some friends and I had some fun, but it was just irresponsible to live like this. It went more hard when I heard from my music teacher that I never will reach conservatory in my life, ever. That's what he literally said to me, and that was like a knife in my heart. It was like I did everything for music, and a music teacher from the conservatory is telling me that I will never reach conservatory ever. I will never be accepted at the conservatory. That was really painful. And at the same time, my girlfriend from the other village broke up with me, and afterwards I found out my best friend was with my girlfriend. So it was terrible. It was really terrible to experience something like that in my life. I had no friends, for real. The friends I had at the high school, the new high school, had to go home. So they couldn't, I mean, sometimes they spent the night or something, but I was most of the time just alone. And yeah, didn't really have the feeling anymore to live. My window was almost a solution because I was, I think, on the 4th floor or 3rd floor of a big building in Rotterdam. And yeah, it was really hard. I was just laying in my bed and woke up and stood up when I had to drink water or something, and I went back again, laying in bed, thinking that my life was over, my love was over, my music was over. I never will be accepted at a conservatory ever in my life. And one person told me that thing, that, whoa. So to continue, I had the guts to get up again and thought like, okay, that guy is saying that to me, but is it true? There was an open day in Utrecht at the conservatory, so I could go there. I just go there without any expectations, or I mean the expectation that they would say the same, and just to get to be sure, like, is this for real? Am I really that bad in music? Or so I went there, and the crazy thing was I played my own song. It's called Satisfied. A teacher didn't even knew what I was playing, and he played next to me at the other grand piano. And it was amazing, and I felt he understood me so much. And he said like, what, where do you gonna do audition this year, or are you gonna do audition? I was like, well, I've heard just recently from my teacher I will never be accepted at conservatory ever in my life. And he was so shocked, and he thought like, what? And I just heard this totally different story. I just heard the opposite. He said like, that's not true. If you do audition somewhere or wherever, you will be accepted. And it's like, what's going on here? So from that moment I just thought like, okay, I'm gonna take this 50-50 chance. I believe this guy more than the guy who told me that I will never reach the conservatory ever. So talked with my parents. We're sitting at a dinner, and I talked with them, and I said like, you know what, I'm about to quit high school again, with a reason that I have now 2 months or something to really prepare myself for the auditions at the conservatory. I choose this conservatory, and this conservatory, and if then it doesn't work, then I'm out, and then I'm okay. Then I have peace with it. So my parents agreed, and I quit high school there as well. It was hard, it was not fun, but I needed to, because my life was like, what do you call that, shattered in pieces, and I had to get up and fix myself. So I was checking what the auditions all wanted to, what I needed to do the audition. So a lot of new things I needed to learn. I was not ready for it at all. So 2 months I had to prepare myself, and I prepared myself and did audition at the conservatory. Yeah, that was one part of my life. I did 2 auditions. I had 3, but at both of the auditions I was accepted. So that was so amazing to hear, and they were so happy with me. One side note was that I was questioning them if they could promise me that I won't lose my feeling. They just didn't took me seriously and laughed about it. I think at that moment I didn't care. I wish that I would say, yes, of course, we will promise, but I thought, like, what the heck? I just had, when I was 7 years old, this was my dream. And it came true. I'm at the conservatory. I'm okay. I will go. So I went to the conservatory, and it was a blast. It was really amazing. So many people around me, and I had a really nice class as well. We had really a nice vibe. Lots of home parties, like, I don't know, what do you call it? Home parties? Yeah. Home party. Huh? No. Home party? Lots of, how you call that again? I'm not even knowing anymore how this is calling. Well, you know what I mean. New home and a party. Lots of fun and stuff like that. But then the tests came as well. I was burned out, but I was accepted, and just forget everything and enjoy. And it was really cool, and it was really fun, and new things to learn and new things to play and everything. So yeah, that was the first year. But in the middle of the first year, it was again that ball what was going, the snowball effect stuff, and in a good way, I think, because a lot of concerts, a lot of bands, a lot of rehearsals, a lot of guiding with exams and stuff like that, and there was just no moment to sit still. I became a piano teacher at a music school. And meanwhile, I did just conservatory, and it just went going and going on and on and on and on. And I forgot my own personal piano tasks as well. I needed to still do the exams to reach the next year, and it was just overwhelming as well. There was no time there was not that much time at all to write music. I mean, yeah. As you will see, there are some songs, but that was all in exhaustion, and just, use the time you still have or something. I was just eventually just worn out, and I asked my teachers, like, what am I gonna do? I mean, I'm totally exhausted. I cannot go anymore. And nobody really did see that from me. I was always a happy and positive guy, but when I went back when I went back after the day, it was like, I'm exhausted. I was laying down, and I could not stand up, and I was pretty depressed. I was not happy at all. I mean, I was happy to see all those people. That was fun, but the whole thing around it was just too much for me. And all the rehearsals and prior of like all the things. I was a perfectionist in my music. I was really like, I wanted to do the best out of me, and I couldn't anymore. I was so overworked. I cannot do those things. I cannot be at two places at the same time, but I still said yes. So I needed to do, and I wanted to do it perfect, but I couldn't anymore. And eventually I went more and more like downwards, I had no energy for it and time for it. So for example, there was one concert I needed to do, or performance, and I was just studying the songs for the first time in the train. I was searching on the internet for the chords, and I wrote those things down, and it's like, okay, it's something like this, something like that. And when I arrived at the train, like a half hour later, I did sound check and play live, and no, it didn't went perfect at all. Or I was watching the whole time the MacBook. I was not even listening to the music anymore. I had no respect for the people where I was playing with, because they did study and they could play the songs, and I could play the song, but it was copy paste, and I didn't even enjoy the song because, and it was not even respect for the artist itself, you know, who did write the song. So lots of those things happened more and more, and I was driving this way and that way, and it just kept on going. And my teacher said, crazy enough, say yes to everything. So I did say yes to everything, so it went even worse. And then it was done. I couldn't go anymore, and crazy enough, the opportunity to go to America and play concerts was going on. I did write some songs with a good friend of mine that time. In the spare time we still had, and we were about to go to the other side of the world. I mean, we were like 20, 21 years old. But at the same time, I was burned out. I couldn't anymore. I had even a doctor's license, of a doctor's permission thing of don't do anything these 6 months and more. So many things, you know. I wanted to do this, but I couldn't anymore. But I have this opportunity, but I had to do this as well. I lived just more lives at one time, and yeah. So did I go to America?